By nature, I'm a pusher, pushing against those who say it won't work, but haven't tried, pushing the boundaries of thinking, pushing productivity and innovation, pushing for change, especially culture. Yet I try not to be an aggressive or too pushy a person. However, I must admit, I lose clients, friends or colleagues who don't want to rock the boat, and they're happy to let me things be as they are. Well, I don't think that's right, because the thundering hooves of competitors are coming in quickly and you may miss opportunity. So I was delighted when I was asked if I'd like to meet someone who's not afraid to tell it like it is. He's the CEO and founding partner of advertising agency and music agency Truant London. Welcome, Chris Jefford. Welcome, Chris.
Morning, Malcolm. How are you?
Good morning. I'm brilliant. It's sun shining here in Northumberland. Yeah. So
good.
Tell me about yourself and what Truant London does.
So that's not a short question to answer, but I'll take you through it. So I'm Chris, co-founder, CEO of Truant London. We're a advertising, music and media agency. We specialise in driving what we call an unfair share of attention for brands and causes. So our sweet spot, I suppose, is brands and businesses that have a very heavy-hitting competitor and they need to punch above their weight effectively.
Right.
I suppose my journey to here was quite circuitous. So I've done lots of different things. I think I'm quite a restless beast by nature. I think I too rock the boat in many of the places that I've been at over the years. Economics graduate, technology guy. From a very early age, I learned to program, and I spent probably the first, I think, 5 or 6 years of my career working for various technology businesses. I was fortunate enough to kind of hit the jobs market just as the dot-com boom was kicking off. So I got myself involved there. I worked with a couple of search engines before Google blew them out the water. So this was way back in the sort of turn of the millennium. And probably mid-2000s, I took some time out, went traveling around the world for a bit, did some football coaching, and thought when I got back, what can I do to sort of satisfy my insanely short attention span?
Right.
And I thought advertising would be an interesting spot to be. I knew how to build things and make things digitally, and digital advertising was having its kind of naissance, really. It was just starting out. So I found roles quite easy to come by in sort of development, production, innovation, amongst a number of different boutique and also network agencies in London. At probably 12 years ago, maybe, was it 12 years ago? I joined an agency called Saint, which was the digital agency of Rainey Kelly, which was part of Y&R, huge global network.
Rubicon,
It was a brilliant little environment that we created of really a bunch of digital misfits sort of kicking against the traditional ways of doing advertising. And it was there where I met my current partners, Dave and Simon, who had worked in advertising purely for sort of the best part of 15 years at that point. We ran that agency for 5 or 6 years. We took it to Agency of the Year a couple of times. It was a brilliant exercise in building an amazing culture of people. And just at that point, we'd kind of hit a ceiling, and we thought maybe we do this not on someone else's money, maybe we do it on our own money. So we decided to jump ship, set up our own business. And yeah, that was back in 2012, just before the Olympics, we started the business.
What was the spark that caused that? And the other thing is, why call it Truant?
Well, do you know what? So there's 2 parts to that question, actually. So the agency wasn't called Truant to start with, and I think this is probably one of the most I suppose interesting parts of the journey, really. So we started the agency, and the agency was called Hometown, and Hometown was effectively, I'll be honest, we didn't start the agency with a huge plan. We like working with each other. We think we do good work. We get on well with clients. We've demonstrated an ability to build a culture. So we started a business and we called it Hometown. And It was a creative advertising agency, effectively, and we ran that business. So we started that business on the day it was announced we'd entered a double dip recession. So we were coming off the back of the financial meltdown. We'd gone through recession number one. We just literally the day that it was announced we'd hit a double dip, and we all looked at each other and said, "Was this a good idea or not?" And it was tough. You know, the first, I think, 4 years, we had an investor who gave us a runway. That runway burnt out pretty quickly. It probably took a good 18 months before we were seeing consistent revenue coming into the business. But even at that point, we were still running at a loss. And it was hard. You know, it was the first time we'd ever been real pure entrepreneurs running our own business without the safety net of a big, you know, Martin Sorrell effectively behind it. So we did that, and after about 4 years, we really got a sense of the tempo and the cadence of the business, and it made a lot more sense to us. And it was at that point that we sort of looked at the business and went, have we sleepwalked into being like every other agency in the whole world? Because if we have, there's no real value in that long term. There isn't, there's no value in being the same as everybody else.
Same old, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'd actually read a book by Peter Thiel, who's the ex-founder of PayPal, and one of his things is, don't start a business in a space where there's lots of competition. Yeah. He's like, that's pointless. Like you need to have albeit small, monopoly on something.
For the blue ocean.
It really rang true. Exactly. So we took the decision to kill the agency that for the first time was financially stable, debt-free, making money, and turn it into something different. And so to answer your question, the Truant as a concept and as an idea of not going with the grain, not doing the expected, behaving in a way that feels anti-establishment, felt really right for us. It actually comes from a line in a song that I was listening to when I was coming back from the gym one lunchtime, and I remember hearing the word and thinking, there's something in that. So we decided to rebuild the agency, and rebuild it not just with a name change, but with a diversification of services. We maintained the advertising kind of brand, creative arm of the business, but we supplemented it with media strategy in-house, and also music strategy in-house. So what we now have is a really interesting group of services, all in the spirit of driving attention for brands. And there's a DNA in the business now, which I can really get my arms around, and really understand. And everyone in the business understands what it means to be true in their actions.
I wish every business had that sort of strong thinking. Look, you're very focused on the importance of fostering a strong culture. What do you mean by that, and how do you go about it?
It's not easy. I think everywhere that, if you think back at all the great places that you've ever worked at, there was something that sort of a special spark that existed, and I think I think that's distilled into a collective vision for where a business is going, a collective sense of purpose, and I think that and a group of like-minded people that are invested in the project effectively. That isn't about taking everyone down the pub on a Friday afternoon or installing a pool table in the office. That's not culture.
Is it like it's Friday today, by the way, Chris?
Every day's Friday, isn't it, at the moment? It's not that. It's not about the sort of the soft stuff. I think culture is super hard to build. I think as a differentiator that drives a premium in your business is absolutely key and important. But it has to be designed. And I think for us as an agency, our pillars are creativity, kind of a rebellious spirit, and a sort of sense of purpose and trying to do good, I think. So we've tried to craft and get everybody on board with that as a vision. When we started the business again, when we rebooted the business, we took the whole business away. We put them in a room. We said, we're planning to do this, guys. What do you think? So instantly we got some early buy-in from people, and then we helped them turn that into whatever it was most appropriate for their part of the business. So everybody has ownership, everybody feels invested in the Truant project, and it's been brilliant, you know. And you can rely on people to go the extra mile to do a lot of your own word of mouth marketing for you. So yeah,
I can see how that dynamic then, you know, rubs off into the client, and the client feels really happy to be with Truant.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think when we were hometown, we couldn't ever really identify what that meant to somebody. I don't think it set an expectation. In fact, when we launched the business, Campaign magazine said it sounded like a pizza delivery company. Right. And I think you know, I don't think we ever really quite got to grips with it. And I think Truant sets an expectation of the type of approach we will take, the type of people you'll work with. It's slightly polarizing. It will be right for some people and not for others. And I think the worst thing in the world is to try and appeal to everybody all the time. So yeah, I think clients, I mean, you know, the big fear when we turned the sign around was that our existing client base would just leave us. They didn't. They stayed. They got on board with it, and they felt part of it. And to this day, it's serving us really, really well.
Yeah, and every client really truthfully wants to be different, you know. And that's
they do. I think so, but also I think there's a lot of fear associated with that. And I think what Truant tries to do is to create almost a gang mentality where we're all invested in this change together. You know, if you want to go and run a side project or do something for the first time, or, you know, there was an instance we won a D&AD award last year for some work that one of our junior creative teams did to drive awareness around Armistice 100 and try and connect with young people. So they said, "Oh, we've got this idea, Chris, can we go and fly post East London? Can you give us a bit of money to get these ads printed?" So they went and fly posted some of the most exclusive outdoor real estate in East London, and filmed it, and it was brilliant, you know. And we back them to do that, you know. We give them permission to do that. If that had all backfired, we'd have taken it on the chin.
Of course.
As it turned out, we won an award for it.
But what I'm liking, what I'm hearing from you, is that creativity, that almost wildness, pushing, you know, the Truant bit there. But behind it all is some very strategic thinking.
Yes. We call that, we coined recently the idea of controlled explosions.
Right.
A controlled explosion is what we try to do for clients, you know. So it's very well planned. There's strategic rigor behind everything that we do. But yeah, there's a big bang at the end of it.
I love that expression, controlled explosion. You do realize I'll have stolen that. It'll be in next week's podcast, you know. Look, you're in a challenging and tough sector. It's okay, is it, to be intolerant of mediocrity or just being average? How have you succeeded in keeping your business momentum during this current crisis?
I think, yes. I think intolerance is a kind of quite a loaded word, isn't it? I think is it okay for our business to be mediocre? No, it's not. You know, we work in a incredibly competitive environment. There are literally thousands of agencies all vying for our clients. So no, it's not good enough to not come into work and do the best work of your careers with us. We think we've created an environment that will allow people to do that. But, you know, we don't, there's a truth that you have to create an environment that enables people to do that. And I think as leaders, we're really conscious of that. We're certainly not, I'd like to think we're quite empathetic leaders. We're quite soft leaders in many ways. And we, you know, we have to create the environment for success. And I think there's so many things in that that are important, but it's not just incumbent on the people who work for us to make great work. You know, we have to support them, lead them and be clear with them and set expectations. I don't know if you've watched the Last Dance on Netflix, the Michael Jordan documentary, which is literally just finished
Is
Yes,
it?
yes.
Right. Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I'm still in Downton Abbey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Well, so this is for me one of the best um, documentaries and insights into what makes a high functioning, successful team that I've ever seen. And it's all rooted in the 90s and the Chicago Bulls era. And, you know, someone like Michael Jordan had these incredibly high expectations of his teammates. He wasn't the most well-liked person on the team, definitely. But, you know, everybody knew where they stood. And I think we have to, as leaders, set that bar in whatever way feels most natural to us as humans.
Yeah, and he was about winning. That was the key thing, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was about winning. He was about, you know, not slacking off. He wouldn't take. He'd call you out if you weren't performing. But also, I think interestingly, there's the blend in that. So there's the head coach that's you know, super smart, super strategic, big hippie at heart, who kind of led this mad bunch of kind of superstars. Where you had Rodman, the slight misfit, you had Jordan, Pippen. So, I mean, it was the blend really that made it special. And that, I think, is what we look for in our business.
Excellent, excellent. So what part do you think the creative industries can play in the UK managing what's called this new normal and maintaining the UK's admired quality and ethical image?
It's been a crazy time. I think it's given everybody, once you get over that initial fear, I think I remember sending everybody home on whenever it was, the middle of March, and fearing for my own business. But I think once you get over that, you start to look at, okay, so how do we apply our creativity and our thinking to help our business navigate this new normal? So how do we need to evolve as an organization? How do we organize as a proposition and the products we offer clients? And how do we help clients now start to navigate what the world now looks like? So, you know, our biggest client over the last 4 or 5 years has been Royal Caribbean. And the cruise industry has obviously gone through a huge challenge. You know, all of the worst fears of people that didn't go on cruises have kind of been realised. So really, it's up to us now as a business to try and apply our creativity in interesting ways to start to bring people back into that market when it's safe to do so. I think more broadly, we've all had to tap into our creativity over the last 2 months. I've got 2 young children at home. We're having to come up with creative ways of stopping this and driving us mental every day. And I think that in a way, the stock of creativity, I think, probably has gone through the roof over the last 6 weeks. Everybody understands the need to be creative again, in the way they run their careers, the way they look after their kids, all that kind of stuff. So I hope that the creative industries can step up to that a little bit moving forward, because if ever there was a time when the world needed creative thinking and ideas and innovation, it's now. I have a real interest in AI and the future of work and that kind of stuff, and I have a strong belief that in the years to come, it's those soft human skills of creativity, critical thinking, imagination, empathy, that will stand people in good stead going forward. And I think that the creative industries can play a huge role in that, especially when creative subject matter is dropping off the curriculum. It seems to be with every single parliament. So I think that there's a role there, I think.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm totally with you. Look, you're in an industry that can be first to face budget cutbacks by clients in tough times. We face a few more ahead, other than just COVID. For example, we've got this 300-year recession. There's Brexit. So what's your thinking on how to manage those whammy challenges?
I think, as I said at the outset, our business has been forged at a time where there has been no normal. So from the day we opened the Metro and saw that we'd hit a double-dip recession on day one, the world just hasn't settled down. I don't think we've seen any period of normality from, within 2 or 3 years, we had the Trump administration came in from Obama. We've had Brexit come in. We've had this pandemic. And I think so I suppose the first answer is, our business feels pretty well versed. It's a bit like building building a skyscraper on a earthquake plain. Do you know what I mean? You
Yeah,
know there's
yeah,
going to be earthquakes. So how do you build the building to sort of weather it when it happens? I think our business is pretty well set up for that, actually. And I think
good.
we have our eyes wide open that the next black swan is around the corner.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think from that, in that regard, I think we're pretty good. I think from a client's point of view, our ethos of there's an Oscar Wilde quote around it's through rebellion and disobedience that progress is made, and our belief in that runs through our business, that we preach to clients, I think will stand clients in good stead for this as well, because they're constantly looking at, how do I pivot, how do I change, how do I need to react, so our role really for them is to just navigate them through that and show them how things have changed, show them how consumer behaviors have evolved, not panic, and kind of, chart a new course for them.
Yeah, I love the strategic thinking that Truant's bringing. So what's your vision, if you have one, for Truant for the next 5 years?
It's an odd time to ask the question, because I think if the last few months has taught us anything, there's that great Mike Tyson quote that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, and I think everyone's very punched in the face recently. So I think our business is and will always be a work in progress. I think we have a very strong sense of who we are, what drives us to get up in the morning, what the responsibility we have for all of our employees, and for our clients. Does that translate into a 5-year vision? Not really. I could sit here and tell you it does. It doesn't really. We set out pre-Truant to create a business that felt genuinely different and could offer something genuinely different in the marketplace. I believe that with that differentiated positioning and a culture which is unlike anywhere else, and it is super strong, there's no reason why we can't have a really, really successful business. So I suppose the only thing that I hold on to, and this kind of comes back to your intro actually, I want us to be different. I want us to stand apart from everybody else in the advertising world. I don't want to be bracketed with old network agencies, the new breed of advertising agencies. I don't want to be in that space. I want to have something genuinely different. I want us to be a force for good. I want us to leave the world in a better place than we found it. And I think that'll be enough. That'll be enough for me, certainly, to leave it.
You see, what from this distance away, what I'm really gaining from what Truant's offering is that you're agile. You're constantly, and by not being so rigid as so many of the hierarchical agencies are there, you can move quickly for the client and be agile and pivot, help them pivot and everything, which is brilliant. Advertising marketing in the past has shied away from being accountable and measuring its value. But buyers, and I deal a lot with procurement people helping people win tenders, they say that accountability is now achievable in marketing. So what's Truant London doing to lead the way on such accountability?
So I think a lot of I read a report recently that said that ad folk are one of the least trusted professions in the country, which is quite depressing for me personally. But
is that before or after estate agents and
no, below? It's literally, I believe I'm right in saying it was rock bottom. It was right. Kind of it was certainly in the relegation position.
Right.
And I think a lot of that comes from certainly within the industry, that there was a moment in time when creative agencies and media agencies split apart. And I think when they were together, all the data and all the intel and all the understanding about consumer media behaviors and reach and frequency and stuff all sat together. So it felt very kind of transparent, and you could see why you were applying the marketing strategy that you were. At a point in time, they became separate. And I think for a creative agency like us, that made life quite tricky, because we were suddenly one step away from the intelligence, if you like, on media behaviours and consumer behaviours. So that became difficult for creative agencies to justify the way they work and the output that they create. On the other side, the media agencies then failed to cover themselves in glory by creating this black box of media that was kind of all predicated on pre-deals with media owners and whatnot. So clients were getting a kind of rough deal from the media agencies and kind of, soft stuff from the creative agency that couldn't really build trust. We've taken the decision to bring those two together, and as part of the Truant offering, we now have media strategy in-house. So, and the purpose of that is really to try to, one, help us create better work. So help us understand the media landscape so much better that it can be part of the creative process. But secondly, to have access to that kind of intelligence that should help clients be imbued with more of a sense of trust in what we're doing. I mean, I think, until biotechnology kicks in and computers can read why we do the things we do as human beings, we will never know how important seeing an ad or having an experience with a brand or whatever had on your purchase intent. We just will never know that. No. But I think all we can do is be honest, be transparent, work together with clients, and kind of, have that sort of collective responsibility for the work that we do together. Yeah.
I mean, as you say, you never know. Who would they have thought that meerkats would work, right? How important was it for you? Is it for you to be seen as providing more than best practice in client experiences?
Yeah. So I never came into advertising because I had a huge desire to make adverts. That was never my driving force in either coming into the industry or starting a business. For me, the really, I mean, I love surrounding myself with creative people and strategic people, and it's a brilliant environment in many ways. And the work we do for clients is obviously of utmost importance, and it's what drives the commercials of the business. If we did rubbish work, then the clients would leave us. So Of course, best practice client experience is important. For me, though, what's probably more important and sort of sits above that, almost in a Maslow's hierarchy of needs kind of thing, is that we provide a home for people that, like me, have a really restless side and maybe don't quite know where they fit in traditional work life. I want to create a business that is a home for misfits, for future generations to be able to come and work at a business that has a strong sense of purpose, is committed to not screwing up the planet, and ultimately, I think the biggest hope for me is that we create a legion of truants that all go out and start their own businesses one day, of which we'll high five them and shake them by the hand and wish them the best of luck. And I think that for me is why I started a business. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Listen, clients don't want advertising and marketing; they want sales, don't they? So, what's been the biggest challenges you've had recently in getting clients to market successfully?
Clients have obviously been understandably nervous. I know on certainly day one, or maybe over the first 2 weeks of the lockdown, things were cancelled. So I know media got incredibly hard hit. Everyone just pulled media budgets from day one. We worked with a number of clients that are not just looking at how their marketing changes, they're looking at how their business is fundamentally changing. There are huge amounts of internal wranglings that are taking place. And, if businesses thought about marketing and their agencies 1% of the time before the pandemic, they're thinking about it a lot less at the moment, or they were thinking about it a lot less. So that obviously was a challenge, and we had to think about when to push and when to approach them. We've been quite fortunate that most of our clients have continued to spend money over this period, and a lot of the money they've been spending has been in strategic thinking and in leaning on us to help them plot a course going forward. So that's been great. Of course, we had a number of productions that were cancelled, shoots were cancelled. So that's a challenge and is still continuing to be a challenge. Obviously, lockdown is beginning to be relaxed. So we're hoping we can get shoots back in studios within a couple of weeks, which will be brilliant. So I think, there's a whole bunch of challenges. I think one of the other things is those clients that have been in media over the last however long it's been have had to straddle a line between having valuable, useful messaging out in the marketplace and being seen as kind of insensitive or opportunistic by being in market at a time when everybody's...
I understand. Yeah.
So that's been a real balancing act, I think, for many clients, and we've certainly helped a few with sort of just thinking about that a bit, because brands can be damaged quite quickly if they tread, if they don't think about what they're doing, I guess.
Yeah, but then there's the counter of out of sight, out of mind, isn't there? Just thinking what you're talking up there about strategic thinking. With your tremendous experience, I'd love if you can give some general guidance to the viewers and listeners on how to be a successful leader in the creative industry in these times.
So one thing that we've noticed a lot is how people are reacting so positively in terms of within the agency to us as a leadership team, through us being radically transparent with them about everything that's going on. And, everybody was, including us, everybody was confused, a bit scared, didn't quite know how to plot a route forward when we started. So I think first and foremost, we've really tapped into our empathetic side and our soft leadership skills in kind of helping our employees kind of navigate this period. And I don't think you can be too truthful with them. And I think it's one of the challenges of running any business is people look at you and think you have all the answers. And I think the reality is, you don't. You just don't have all the answers. And it's okay to say that. And I think that's been a really really important learning. And I think secondly, we're a creative business, is a culture business, and running, looking after culture and ensuring the business is cohesive and making sure that people can still feel creative in their own homes has been really important. So we've done lots of things from, running interactive workshops. We have these things called the lockdown sessions every couple of weeks, where we just get together, have a drink and talk about a subject. Most recently we talked about, what does our future office need to look like? We're not going to go back. We won't go back to the same office that we left. We'll have a new plan for that. So keep people together, keep them, feeling part, keep the communication going, and be as transparent as you possibly can, I think.
Okay. Listen, I have thoroughly enjoyed our chat. By the way, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, it's hard to do this mirroring, isn't it? But truantlondon.com to follow through on Chris's been chatting about. Final question, though, Chris. Final question.
Yeah.
It's fairy godmother time. If you were granted 3 wishes to ensure the future of advertising as a respected profession, what would they be?
It's probably more than 3.
But, I think
number one, advertising agencies need a conscience that I think reflects the people that work in them, and often I don't think we see that. So I'd want agencies to stop working with rubbish companies that destroy the world and aren't positive forces. I think secondly, there is too much substandard communications, creative communications work out there. We should always, as an agency, only ever do work that we are sincerely proud of. Otherwise, why bother? Clients can do it themselves if that's what they're after. And then I think thirdly, and this is just really a personal thing, I think I would love to see the creative industry stepping up to help future generations, to fill the gap of educational institutions, and to help us complement the machines when the machines start to take start to take hold on everybody's job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think maybe they're not three wishes, but they're three things that I'd love to, I guess, see going forward.
Yeah. Chris Jefford, I've thoroughly enjoyed our chat today. You've obviously set me off soon on the Michael Jordan Netflix series.
Malcolm.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it'll keep me quiet, won't it? And I just love your strategic thinking and the way that you care for clients and everything. So thank you very much indeed for today's interview. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm.